everyone, and welcome to the Quantum Bridge again. We have Zoltán and Bálint from my Chow Gar. Welcome to the show again, guys.
Hi.
Hope all is
Hi.
well. We'll probably, touch on a few different subjects. We're going to start with the ego today. Casper has some of that.
You're so cruel.
I guess I have some as well, but maybe there's a nice balance between us somewhere. But on that note, I will pass over to Casper to introduce the show properly.
You'll find there's nothing here at all. Okay, hi guys. Nice to see you both back. Thank you very much for joining as always. So as Gary said, yeah, we sort of got to the point in our last conversation where we were touching on, actually, I think the whole area of ego pretty much came out of that concept of, and for you guys, it wasn't a concept of starting again or starting over, and a huge amount of mental fortitude and energy and resilience, actually, that it takes to do something for a long time and then to have the humility to start again. And both Gary and myself are very impressed by that you were able to do that. It's very tough. And actually what drew us both to you guys in the first place was that you're very self-deprecating. So in the videos that you put up together, there's always a lot of humor in them. There's always a lot of playfulness and fun. At the same time, of course, you can also see how seriously you take the art and how much that means to you, but you're able to juggle those two elements. So maybe, again, we just start by touching on how important the whole friendship and other aspects were to you for going again and basically starting fresh. And also how much you think that maybe ego plays into the whole thing when people first start their training and their life in the martial arts. I have to confess that for me, there was plenty of ego, as Gary just pointed out, but I'd be interested to know how much there was for you and maybe if that fell away a bit as you realized how tough and how challenging and how long that whole journey might take. So I'll shut up now, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Who's first?
Yeah, what I just wanted to say that when I heard first that ego will be the topic today, I thought that this will be very short because I don't have one. But as this thought went through my head, I said that if I said that I don't have one, then maybe it's so big I don't even realize there is one. So it wouldn't be okay. But joke aside, I pass it to Bálint because I think, as I see, he has some ideas in his head to start with.
Yeah, as an expert of ego,
So we have a nice balance. We have a nice balance between us. Then you got Zoltán and myself, and you and Casper. Yeah.
So, well, if someone wants to train his ego, then Chow Gar is not really a suitable system. Because it's kind of opposite when you go to an ego trainer, with this head microphone and telling you that you're going to be very successful and you can do whatever you want to do. Because in this system, for a long period of time, it's quite frustrating. If you practice internal art, you don't get the sense of feeling strong when you practicing something external and you get a sense of power in the quite early stage. You get your newbie gains, and then you start to get some physical sensation, but in an internal system, actually you feel yourself all the time weak. Unfortunately, even when you're relatively getting much stronger than other people, you still don't have the sensation of being strong. And this happens to many levels. Even if you're a beginner or even if you're higher level, you only feel yourself strong compared to other people, because internal power has a very huge depth. So it's, I would say, you get an unlimited possibility to get stronger, and compared to this unlimited possibility, you always feel weak, and that could create a person to be more humble, because compared to the system, can be very weak. Of course, there are other people who say, okay, I can push other people down, that's enough for me. So, and I don't want to improve, but it means on that level they can stuck. So there's not the way to improve yourself until the end of your life. So in that aspect, it's, I wouldn't say it's training your ego in the sense of a ego trainer, but it's just transforming it, because you can sort of put it aside. We can find something that is higher than you, higher than with your, compared to your natural born skills. So you don't say, okay, I'm born with this kind of power, because nobody is born with it. And practically everybody starts with the equal potential to reach this, to develop this.
Interesting. Yeah. Zoltán, have you got anything to add?
Yeah, what I wanted to say is we have a, let's say, common joke during trainings. Anyway, our Sifu, the Grandmaster, he's making jokes, making fun many times during the trainings with us. But sometimes we have special strengthening exercises, what we do in pairs. And of course, someone is sometimes stronger than the other one. And sometimes this changes during your time, depending on your level, where are you, how much you train, and so on and so forth. It's a normal, let's say, development. And sometimes you're much stronger than the other one, who was stronger than you, and you make him exhausted. And many times in such case, someone is basically stronger than me. I'm just laughing and saying that don't be happy because you're not strong. I'm just weak. That's the difference. And what I wanted to add first, before going back to the story that we had to restart this whole thing, is that we many times face the situation that people came to the school, or they came to meet us in person, and everybody has a perception of their own strength or power level. And they have also an idea in the head that what they will possibly meet when they come to the school. And this doesn't match, finally, these two things. First of all, usually people overestimate themselves, which is normal, because when you never had a situation like that, or you could not compare yourself with someone with different type of skills, then you just can think of you that, yeah, you're on a level, you met other people, and between or amongst these people, you have a certain, let's say, higher levels of power, strength. And then you go somewhere which you never been before, and you think that, yeah, I'm already doing something for 10, 20, whatever years, and I don't want to start at the beginning. I want to train with the advanced guys, because I'm already doing, I don't know, whatever martial art for. I don't want to name any martial art. I do something for 20 years or 30 years, maybe. In some cases, this is ego. On the other case, in some cases, just they have this standard view of themselves, and then they realize after a short period of time that actually it's not possible to do that, because the level where they are, at least in this system, is very low. And it's not their fault, because it's a completely different system. But so in this case, many of these people have to think what to do. So now they let's say, bring down the ego and okay, accepting this situation. For the beginners, it's easier. I mean, for complete beginners, because they never did anything, so they will start up with something.
Yeah.
But for people who train themselves, it's very difficult to switch. And in many cases, they realize that they're much weaker than they thought before. So this is our general. Please, Bálint, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is our general experience, right? So
Yeah.
I think you had many meetings. I had as well a few, but you had also many when this was actually the result. So they were surprised that. I'm not saying that because we are so strong or whatever, but surprised because they were much weaker than they thought they would be. So this is our experience.
Yeah, I would add two things on this. Just one, what just Zoltán said, and another one that I said previously. The first one is the difference is because the source of power is different. So that's why they could be strong in a certain way what they have developed, but they are not strong in this way what we develop. That's why they have this kind of misconception that okay, I'm just learning the techniques and forms of the system because I got the power already from another system or from some other exercises, and then they realize okay, I haven't faced such kind of power quality before, and that's why, because they don't know about it, and then they face it for the first time, and this is could be very shocking for someone who's training for a long period of time. And the other one, what I wanted to add about the levels and the being endless in this system is one story from the past, from the former grandmaster Lao Soi, because one of his students who later become the grandmaster now, the grandmaster's father, he was asking that, what do you think about my level of kung fu? And Lao Soi said to him, my level is still rubbish. So how about yours? So it means, you know, for someone, so someone might think, how could that be? He's the grandmaster. His level must be very good. So why does he saying his level is not good, or why is this rubbish? It's because it always means compared to the system, what is achievable, everyone's rubbish. Of course, compared to each other, can be differences. Okay.
I mean, I think
that's really nice.
It's just to add another spin on that student who turns up. When I've gone to other places, it's how do I say, I've always gone in as a beginner. So even though you've done a little bit before, then you kind of think, okay, I would at least like somebody who's better than me to teach me. But you just get put with the other guy who's just done nothing, and it can get frustrating in that sense, because then you know your basic footwork, you know some of the shapes already, so it's easier to pick things up. But then you're still put with the beginner guy, and you think, well, here I am, I'm paying £5 a lesson, and I'm having to show this guy how to walk, and I want somebody who can push me, that's what I pay for. So there's sometimes different reasons why that can be frustrating as a student who comes in.
Yeah, but this is because you're never willing to tell people that you've done years and years of it.
I haven't
done absolute power.
I was lucky.
First ego, Gary. This is you wanting to look brilliant as a beginner.
I would say I was lucky that I did a little bit of the Chow Gar for a couple of years, and it was a good school, so it did help get some of this power that you guys talk about as a foundation. That, you know, they really built that into you, I'd say. So I did have gone to some other Chow Gar schools where they don't bother anymore. I sort of turn up and I said, you don't do it this way. And he goes, well, you know, you might, but not the other guys these days. No, you know, they just don't. So it's
Gary, what you're touching on is a lack of willingness, perhaps. I don't know, because I've never gone to any of these guys, but you're maybe talking about the perception, certainly in the UK maybe now, that people aren't going to be willing to sacrifice the time and the effort to do repetitive movements, really. So things a bit like the guys have just touched on, that in the first year or two maybe, and of course I can be corrected on this, but let's say the first year or two of learning the Chow Gar system, for example, that outwardly there isn't this huge massive change. And it sort of comes onto that whole Chinese sort of proverb thing about, and this is very bad paraphrasing by me, okay, this will be rubbish, but I'm going to say it anyway, that after the first year or two, you really think you're going somewhere. After maybe 10 years, you think, right, I can't be that far from the goal. And then after 30 years, you realize you're still a beginner. And it's a bit coming back to what Bálint just mentioned, that this Western, generally the Western concept of progress, particularly because we sort of know this thing about belts in certain systems as well, is that you move through and the final goal is a black belt or a number of dans or whatever it might be, in whatever system. I'm not picking on a particular system for this. I'm just saying that the Western perception is that you move through and you get a belt and then another qualification that's even higher than that belt, and that there is a sort of end goal. But it very quickly, to me, seems to come into focus in traditional Chinese martial arts, not just Chow Gar, but generally, that there isn't this end goal. And I think that that's when maybe your ego crumbles. So I'd be interested in all three of you thoughts on that really when you realize you're never going to get there, you either give up completely or you just keep going anyway. And you start to then go more inside yourself and see what you can bring out rather than looking for external validation.
You know, yep.
So sorry, I just wanted to say that yes, for in general for Western people, I think this is very important to see certain goals. Like now, next is the green belt, and then the next is the red belt, and so on and so forth. And you have goals, and then you can have 5 or 7 depending on the system dans. And when you reach that, then you're on the top. In our system, there's a saying which says that when you achieve something in Chow Gar Praying Mantis, then you start to learn Kung Fu, which means, you know, when you hear it first, you don't understand how these two things fits. So you achieved already something, and then it says that then you start learning Kung Fu because you don't understand what this is about. And later, when you understand how the system works, then you realize that this is the first achievement, that you understand what is this system about, and then you can start to improve really. And now I understand. A few years ago, I started to understand this. When I understood first that, I think now I understand how I should train. What exercises for what and why, how this works. How can I, in the most effective way, develop or improve myself? And then I made a big leap in development. And then I realized this saying is most valuable about this. And in traditional systems, I think, and now I'm talking about Chow Gar, but I think in traditional systems, the goals or the achievements are basically the understanding, the level of understanding of what you're doing and why you're doing it. Not ranks will not give you understanding. In best case scenario, maybe they will. But in general, you get ranks because you learned a certain amount of, I don't know, techniques or exercises, or you went to competitions where you won something, or you did it in this way. But that does not necessarily mean that you understand really what you're doing. Maybe you got strong physically. I don't know. You were lucky. Whatever. You have a good memory. You can memorize the movements, but the movements and the understanding, it's two different things. It's like, really knowing intellectually, you learn something and you know about it, but really touching it and really have an experience with it and understanding what is that. It's two different things. And I think this can be one of the differences in practicing internal martial arts, or going with this Eastern way of thinking, if there is such, I don't know. That can be a difference. I hope you understand what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to say something quickly, because I think I'm for myself. I was pointing out the fact that certainly when I came to martial arts originally, I only knew about the belt system. So it was always in my mind, and I think in many people's minds when I started, that, oh, look, all you have to do is get a black belt, then you know the system and whatever. I think actually, to be honest about it, I have the feeling that was just a preconception, that actually when you do get to that, even in those other martial arts that are beyond Chinese martial arts, that then actually they do go into this thing of actually you never really get there, and that the next steps are going, say, for example, in the Japanese martial art, do begin to go internal. So actually you get there. So maybe it's just a different emphasis, that you start with the external and you move to the internal. Yeah. And something I've always liked about Chow Gar, for example, is the fact it seems to equate those both sides, the external and the internal, can be built together, which is, I just always found that quite an interesting aspect. But again, I may have got that wrong.
I wanted to add something to Gary's experience, and also I will return it to our fundamental subject in here about ego, because he mentioned that in one of the schools they were practicing foundation, and the other one they didn't care about it as much, and it happened to all the martial arts, or most of the traditional martial arts nowadays, that they left out this bitter pill, the foundation training, because it's very difficult in many different aspects. Getting the power already is quite painful, but as I said, it's very frustrating, because it's revealing something about yourself, because you need to bear the fact that you're much weaker than you thought, and nobody wants to be weak, and nobody wants to know to be weak.
That's a very good point.
And it is something similar when some people are, if they are into meditation, and when you're quieting your mind, and then you need to face some of your own thoughts, which might you won't like about yourself, that, oh, these are really my thoughts, that couldn't be, it's not me, but it is something, it's better that you're facing with, also that you're facing with your weaknesses, and then you can work on those. But it's much easier to hide them, and then the martial art itself would not fulfill this task to face your weaknesses, but you will do it instead for as some kind of entertainment. And this is also an attribute of a true traditional martial arts, where you have this aspect of facing your own weaknesses.
Bálint, can I just make one quick observation? It might be that we have to complete the rest of this one on another video, because it's actually a really interesting area, and I think we're only scratching the surface of it, really. So maybe it's something we revisit. But one thing I did want to mention about the Chow Gar system, as far as I understand it, that when you sort of quote unquote complete the system. Not that you ever would, but that the Mantis One, so the first power building series of exercises or movements that you might learn, ultimately your ability in the Kung Fu and the Chow Gar system will still be shown in that Mantis One. So almost there is a sense of coming full circle. So rather than getting to a destination that's linear, there is that sense of coming back to yourself. And I think that if that is true, if I've got that right, I think that would be a lovely thing to revisit, that thing of you never getting anywhere in a way, but at the same time, you've gone a long, long way to come back to the same original power building foundation. So I don't know if that has any resonance, but if it does, maybe that's something we can also throw into this mix another time.
Yeah, I think we can talk about more details, but in a different video.
But just for those people who are watching or listening to this podcast, we can now reveal what is the answer to your question. Yes, there is a circle, and you're coming back to the same thing. And as we say sometimes, the most beginner exercise is the most advanced exercise in the same time. So from this point of view, you're revisiting it exactly.
Yeah. I think
we say sometimes there is no such as high-level exercise in Chow Gar. There is no such. What makes it high level? Then I will tell in the next podcast what makes it high level.
Yeah, there you go. Leave us all dangling. Yeah, perfect. Okay. I think that's a brilliant place to not end. Okay, good. All right, guys. Thank you very much again. Thanks for your humor, your humility, and for willingness to come back each time. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.